Billionaire's fiancée and her friend tried to humiliate the maid, but they picked the wrong woman. I still remember the moment the coffee cup shattered on the marble floor, and the room went completely silent. A young woman in a gray uniform stood frozen, her hands shaking, while two women in designer dresses laughed. Nobody in that mansion knew who she really was. Nobody knew that in less than 10 minutes, everything in that house would change forever. The fiancée smiled and said one sentence that would come back to haunt her. But nobody was ready for what happened next. Martha Coleman had worked as a housekeeper for the Whitfield family for almost 3 years. She was 58 years old, with soft gray hair and tired but gentle eyes. Every morning, she took 2 buses from her small apartment in Columbus, Ohio, just to reach the Whitfield estate on time. Martha had raised 2 children alone after her husband passed away. She never complained. She simply worked, prayed, and smiled at everyone, even when her knees ached and her hands grew stiff from scrubbing floors. The Whitfield mansion belonged to Richard Whitfield, a quiet billionaire who built his fortune in shipping. Richard respected Martha deeply. He often said she reminded him of his late mother. But everything changed when Richard got engaged to a younger woman named Vanessa Blake. Vanessa noticed Martha's calm dignity from the very first day. And for reasons no one understood yet, that calmness made Vanessa uncomfortable. Vanessa Blake was beautiful, confident, and used to being admired. She came from money, but not nearly as much as Richard's. Some said she needed this marriage more than she needed love. One afternoon, Vanessa invited her best friend, Chloe Diamond, over for tea. Chloe was loud, dramatic, and enjoyed making others feel small. When Martha brought in a silver tray, her hand trembled slightly, and one cup slipped, cracking against the floor. Chloe gasped dramatically. "Oh my goodness, are you serious right now?" Vanessa stood up slowly, her eyes cold. "Clean it up. Now." Martha knelt down quietly, picking up the pieces with careful hands. She didn't say a word, but Richard's young daughter, Emily, was watching from the staircase. Emily was only 7, but she noticed something the adults missed. She noticed the tiny gold bracelet Martha always wore on her wrist, a bracelet Emily had seen somewhere before. Something about that bracelet felt important. Emily didn't know why yet. Over the next few days, things grew worse. Vanessa began ordering Martha around like a servant with no name. Chloe joined in, calling her the help instead of Martha. One evening, during a dinner party, Vanessa decided to humiliate Martha in front of everyone. "Let's see if she even knows how to serve a proper wine glass," Vanessa said loudly, handing Martha an expensive crystal glass filled to the top. The guests chuckled awkwardly. Martha's hands trembled again, but she held steady. Then Vanessa added, smiling cruelly, "Some people just don't belong in rooms like this." The room grew tense. Richard wasn't home yet, and no one dared to speak up. But little Emily suddenly ran forward. "That bracelet," Emily said, pointing at Martha's wrist. "That's the same one in Daddy's photo album." Everyone turned. Vanessa's smile faded instantly. Martha looked down at her bracelet, her eyes suddenly filled with tears. Nobody understood what Emily meant. Not yet. Richard walked in at that exact moment, his face pale as he saw the bracelet on Martha's wrist. "Where did you get that?" he asked quietly. Martha's voice shook. "It was given to me a long time ago, by a young man who worked on the docks. He said it belonged to his mother." Richard's eyes filled with tears. "That young man was me." Gasps filled the room. Years ago, before his fortune, Richard had been a struggling dock worker. During the hardest winter of his life, a kind stranger fed him, gave him shelter, and never asked for anything in return. That stranger was Martha. Richard had searched for her for years to repay her kindness, never knowing she had quietly become his own housekeeper. Vanessa's face turned white. Chloe took a step back, suddenly silent. "You've been humiliating the woman who saved my life," Richard said, his voice trembling with emotion. Vanessa opened her mouth to explain, but no words came out. Martha simply lowered her head, tears falling freely now. She never wanted credit. She never wanted anything. But the truth was finally standing in the light. And it wasn't finished yet. Richard knelt in front of Martha, taking her worn hands into his own. "You gave me everything when I had nothing, and I let you carry trays in my own house." "You didn't know," Martha whispered. "I never wanted you to feel guilty." Richard turned to Vanessa. Someone who mocks kindness could never understand what it means to build a real home. Vanessa's engagement ended that very night. She left without a single word, and Chloe followed close behind, avoiding every eye in the room. From that day forward, Martha was never treated as the help again. Richard insisted she live in the guest house on the estate, free of charge, and he made sure her grandchildren's college was fully paid for. Little Emily hugged Martha tightly and whispered, "I'm glad I remembered the bracelet." Martha smiled through her tears. "Sometimes the smallest eyes see the biggest truths, sweetheart." Every Sunday after that, the mansion smelled like fresh biscuits and warm laughter, and Martha sat at the family table, not as a servant, but as someone who belonged there all along. And sometimes the smallest voice changes the biggest heart. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who still believes kindness can change the world. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so leave a comment below.